Welcome to another episode of Healing Money Talks. My name is Emma Lucy Wall, and I invite you, as I always do, to put the kettle on, make yourself a warm drink, find a comfortable place to sit down and relax, and listen deeply to the conversation that's about to unfold. You never know what you might hear. So my special guest today is Sarah Jennings. Sarah has worked internationally in the UK, South Africa, Switzerland, Australia and Canada, as well as online. She's a public speaker and a clairsentient practitioner, a highly experienced transformational energy worker with aura transformation, an aura mediator, instructor and creative kinesiologist with a background in business development. Sarah uses her vast experience in entrepreneurship, group work, and multidimensional wisdom to help people embrace their true essence and tap into their own genius and energy reserves by teaching powerful self-healing tools. Sarah has spent years developing kinesiology-based visibility and heart retrieval work. Her methods are innovative, powerful, and masterful. She holds an extremely compassionate, safe, and loving space for you to come into your power. I came across Sarah, I'm not exactly sure how, but I saw her heart retrieval work and her visibility gateway, and it just really resonated for me because I have this thing about healers and money and them hiding away under stone. So Sarah, tell us a bit more about your work and about your feelings around money and healers.
It's just been an incredible journey to work with many, many healers, not only, training them in certain modalities, but just one-to-one and just finding out that basically anything that happens to a healer is amplified times 100 than what we might see in the everyday world.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to say thank you for such a lovely introduction and for having me on the talk, though. And I'm just one of those that if you ask me anything, I'll just go for ages. So I just want to acknowledge that, I really appreciate the invitation and this lovely space you're creating. So, I think that healers have got a lot of fear, justifiably so, if you look at it from a historical perspective. The healing arts have been vilified, trampled, destroyed, burnt, stoned. It's just quite horrifying if you go a little bit deeper into the story of, anyone calling themselves a healer, or even midwife, spiritual midwives or doulas, people that were helping in childbirth or working with herbs or working with, the natural laws of earth. People are still being what would be the word vilified, being destroyed or put down or judged or criticized as a quack, or basically these old patterns of the history of the healing arts is repeating itself in different ways. And it's not, I don't think people do it intentionally often, maybe some, but a lot of people just have like these, why would they judge or criticize someone offering a beautiful healing modality or something? They're just out there going, oh, I really believe in this and I want to share it with people. And then others react really horribly. And a lot of people that come to me are actually afraid of objections that people have to their work, or how do I deal with objections or criticism? So I think it is incredibly courageous for anyone to decide to go down that route. But I also think that most people don't decide to go down that route to become what we'd call a healer or alternative medicine practitioner. It's not an easy path.
Mm.
You're like the black sheep of the family in a sense, and so even your family might be like, oh, it's a waste of time and it's not a proper job. And, the resistance to following the path that you have in your heart is massive. And to add to that, society isn't really valuing it at the way it should be valued, or not quite. It's getting lots better than when I started. But if society isn't valuing what you do, and there's a lot of fear in your body about speaking out about being a healer, then it's hard for you to charge appropriately for your work. I think I stand for raising the bar for all healers. And I have gradually over time realized, like, this is my mission and my passion. So when I started, I can't survive off this, the average, middling to low hourly rate for a healer. Like, I can't, I refuse to go and work for someone else or have another job when I know this is my absolute calling, and like there is nothing that can take me off that path, and I'm going to do it even if I'm scraping by. Or if I do really well, I'm still going to do it. Like, if I won the lottery tomorrow, I'd still be offering this work and trying to record all the information and techniques and knowledge that I've been putting into the Visibility Gateway and the Heart Retrieval course and all these things. Those are my like life legacies of thousands of hours of work with people that I'm now trying to put into something where more people can access it. So I would still do that if I had all the money in the world. So that's that's the beauty of people that know it's their calling, and they know that they need to be doing this. And some of it's a deep remembering, like past lives. They're people that are part of their spirit connection is within the lineages of certain healing, not modalities is the wrong word, but lineages. So for example, I work with many priestesses of Avalon and Mary Magdalene priestesses. I don't identify in any particular lineage, actually. I kind of support all of them. I think I'm sort of on the outside somehow. And I've there's, just as an example, these priestess type ladies, they really identify with, or have deep memories of the circles, the temples, the knowledge and wisdom that come, this heart-based living, and how their circles and their lineages were almost destroyed or wiped out of history. They were banished. They had to go underground, and that's the same with native, like Mayan cultures. A lot of the people that have deep remembering of those lineages also had to go underground for a period of time, and now these are all I'm seeing a bubbling up of these stories. But the money thing is interesting because, like, you can see it in lots of different levels within a healer person that has these deep rememberings of who they are, is that it's not safe to be visible. So first of all, it might not even be a money story. It's just like, I could get killed or banished or destroyed again for sharing this information. So you don't go out there and do your thing. So there's that. Then there's also, there is possibly the deep money story. And I don't know where, I can't say they and us, it's not that simple really, but there is a kind of deep imprint, or it's very clever, that stops healers being okay with money. So I can't even bother to go into it, like money is bad, money is not spiritual, or I've kind of like left that behind so long ago that I almost don't even notice it. But maybe you can remind us of some of what are the limiting stories
Money is
around?
the root of all evil. I don't have a bottomless pit. It doesn't grow on trees. I mean,
Yeah,
this sense of lack and
yeah.
living all around it.
Yeah, but it's even worse with the healing stuff. You can't charge for healing. Healing, it's a
Oh, it'll make you evil somehow if
well,
you.
it's just like almost doesn't make sense really, because everyone needs money these days, and it's just a form of exchange at the end of the day. And if you have energy to change, I always say, if you have the energy and the time and ideas of how to change the entire financial monetary system, then go and do that. Be the activist, change it from within. But if you're not going to do that, stop resisting the system that we're in, because you're making it harder for yourself to be creative, or be able to, well, survive and be secure and live comfortably, and then also do what you're supposed to be here for. So it's, yeah. But the thing is, like, what I was going to say is, like, with these ancient lineages that some of us hold within us, or the calling to be a healer, there is the vows of secrecy and contracts we wrote with ourselves, like, I'm never doing this again, I'm never putting myself on a line again, I'm never going to be visible again, I'm never going to tell anyone I'm a healer ever again. All that stuff's like deep down, and that can really just basically make your body, the minute you go, right, today I'm going to put my healing work out there, or I'm going to study, or I'm going to offer my work, or I'm going to put this price on it, and your body just shuts down. brain fog, mouth dry, shaking, the whole thing. It's like, you're like so frustrated because you're like, I know that this needs to go out there. I know this is what I'm supposed to be doing. So actually, sometimes those contracts were written out of safety and security, but it's almost like we wrote them to protect our future selves. And now our future self is like, actually, this is not helping me at all. So I do facilitate quite a lot of these negotiations with our past selves or past lineage holders, or the kind of leaders of those circles where the contracts were written for a good reason, protecting that information and those us in that time, healers in that time. So that's very sensitive, beautiful part of doing the visibility gateway or the kinesiology work I do, is that we can facilitate these conversations and negotiations and rewrite contracts around that. But then there's also the whole thing with the money story, and that isn't necessarily like ancient stuff. This could be your parents, or the crowd, the rabble, the crowd going, oh, that's not right, you can't do that. And then you're just going like, oh God, it's also we're institutionalized, to not, certain things have value and certain things don't, but we're also not taught how things work. So we're also put in a disadvantage of, I do feel like a lot of healers just, it's almost like we've got the blinkers on, and I don't know if that's like some sort of I kind of do know, but I don't know who's listening. But there's a kind of it's like we've got energetic blinkers on that go, okay, well, we don't think about the future or pensions or security of our children and how we're going to survive in 20 years time. We're just going to think about not offending anyone by charging just about what everyone else is charging and making sure we never quite make it out of debt. So it's like, wow, how come we're not thinking? So for about I don't know, it was maybe a year ago, I was like, right, like, I need to take responsibility for me getting older. I'm going to be 40 this year. So I need to like look at maybe what am I going to do? Like, what do I want to do? It's a bit more like a bit forward planning. Like it's not necessarily like a 5-10 year plan, but it was a kind of overview of like, okay, what's it going to look like? What do I like? What do I want to do? How do I see, and it wasn't like I'm going to be so rich, even though that's not a bad thing. It was just more like a longevity and security plan for me and my daughter. And then if I was like, okay, well, if anything happened to me, what would happen to my daughter? And I was like, oh God, I need to put some stuff in place. So I've totally changed my mindset around money myself in the last year, where I shifted my focus to this long view. And then suddenly I've opened my eyes to, well, loads of opportunities have arisen and ideas and, thinking smart about money and security in that way. So I've got lots of different things I'm doing. But what happened in me thinking like that is that it totally changed my energy field and how I feel. Like it was a bit like having another aura transformation, the other work I do, kind of like a life-changing shift, like so much clearer, so much more solid, like almost like my body went, like this makes sense. And it was like sparky and exciting and like, okay, maybe it's just becoming a grown-up. I don't know, a spiritual grown-up. And that's the thing. So all these things are going on, the money story, blinkers on. There's also addictions to over processing constantly, rather than going out there and making things happen and putting your work out there. You're like, oh, I'm not perfect yet. When I fix this thing, or when I heal that thing, and it just goes on and on. I mean, I really do see processing emotion as a tool. It's a tool that you learn, a muscle that you build, and then you pull it out when you need it. You don't constantly just swim in it, So, you could go forever. I could process emotion forever if I wanted, if I went into every cell in my body and every layer of my being. So there has to come a point where you're like, okay, I know how to do it now. What can I do to that contributes to the world? I don't like the word service because this whole servitude thing. I always try and reframe when I say I say contribution, because I think that's something, it's a different energy. You're contributing.
Powerful, yeah.
Yeah. Because a lot of, with all this, oh, money's evil and money's bad and I can't charge them more, all that money stuff, or I will never be visible again, I'll never be a healer again. All of and then there's also the obvious, well, not obvious, but really horrible childhood abuse of being bullied, not heard, not seen, not valued, magical children being squished into uniforms and sit still. It's like harsh. Being a magic, I mean, it brings emotion up because I think when you're a magical human and you're born a magical human into the world that we are in, it's quite hard. You're being like energetically amputated and cut off constantly. So the remembering, I think my awakening was like a proper wallop, because it was like a coming alive from all that, like a whoa, wake up. And it was a bit, it's a bit of a shock, I think. And but what was I going to, I've got about 10 tangents open right now.
You were talking about endless processing.
Yeah. So, so all of that, all of those dynamics are sucking your energy, your life force into your subconscious and swimming around in there, which is fine if that's what you want to do. But life force, if you think of like the energy of a tree or the torus energy of the body, it's like energy coming in and around. It's not going down, down, and making you feel like heavy and it's actually like a coming up and out. And I think that's contribution. That's diverting your life force from subconscious to contribution. And I think that's actually a huge step. And and that whole thing about being a spiritual adult, it's like really, it's like a change and a shift to your earth element. If we're looking at Chinese medicine or just the elements wheel, the earth, is the grounding, foundation, organization, structure, building systems that support you in life. And I've been doing this 7 years pretty much on my own, apart from, I've had some help on and off with, I had someone trying to help me with admin once. I had help with my website once or stuff, but I've mostly learned a lot of what it is I do. And I am now at the stage again where I'm getting teams together to help me. But then I've spent the last year or so doing it all myself because that's what I wanted. And that's another point with healers, is we can't be squished into a marketing plan that someone's set, which is a shame, because you go on all those courses and you're like, oh God, and then you lose yourself, and then you're like, and then they don't get your magic. And so we have to, the visibility gateway that I do is really allowing each and every person to create their own marketing kind of plan. I give lots of options and permission to make it work for their life and for your magic to flow, and for because like I said at the beginning, everything for a healer is amplified. So if it's not working or fitting, it's going to be disastrous. So
my body's going, because I think when we're trying to be somebody else or occupy somebody else's marketing role, it just feels so inauthentic. And then, like you say, that inauthenticity is just massively amplified, and it's glaringly obvious to everybody that we're
and it's just like you feel like not right. It just felt so wrong. I did it too. I went down that route, and and then you feel like a failure because you've abandoned ship. But actually, I've took a break from something that was really not comfortable, and then I've slowly picked up bits and pieces that do work. And then what the visibility gateway actually is for healers and wellness practitioners, chiropractors, reflexologists, fifth dimensional whatever, quantum healers, all the whole spectrum of people in the healing arts of some kind. And it's not just a marketing course, it's magical marketing. I'm teaching people to be the whole thing is about really aligning to your mission, why you're here, your blueprint, who you really are, what you're good at, knowing who you are and what you do. So it takes a bit of time to learn that. You have to do it by doing it. And then that alignment through your voice box. So if that's all trapped and blocked from ancient torture or from being silenced as a child, it's like this energetic contraptions all around here. A lot of healers feel that, and they're going to recognize it when I mention that. And then it's basically, how can we get your message and what you're doing in the world out through the heart, through the throat and the heart, and out there in a way that keeps you sustained and grounded. But then all of the layers of the aura have to be in alignment with that too, or open to being seen by the right people. Because if there is fear of being visible, which could be money or the healing stuff, you know, the ancient stuff, it kind of creates what I call smoke and mirrors. So people scroll past, or people go like, oh, I don't even want to listen. Or so you might be perfectly amazing at what you do, but for some, you know, you're actually blocking. There's smoke and mirrors is what I call it. It's basically when you're watching someone talk and you kind of start drifting off and doing other things. That's like, you're just being like sleep dust being thrown at you. Again, healers are powerful mostly, and they're very clever with their energy. And
And do
that
you think they're
includes
almost doing that? Are they almost doing that deliberately then, to keep
not,
themselves hidden?
well, it's a
Or subconsciously?
subconscious,
Consciously.
deliberate, don't look at me, please, go away. And it could be at any level. It could be the money thing, it could be the being seen thing, it could be the healing thing, it could be ancient, it could be quite new, it could be I'm not ready right now, or it could be I don't actually believe what I'm talking about. You know, like lots of things. But I mean, it happens to not healer people too. You know, you can just, if you're like super engaged and excited by what someone's saying, it's just because they are in flow and alignment. It's the right time to be hearing it. But you know, so it's like, even I have things like, I'm like, oh, why is nothing happening at the moment? And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm supposed to be resting. Not my favorite thing, but and then I can listen. It's a big part of the visibility gateway is also teaching healers not to tie their business with their self-worth. It's a big one, because many healers stop before they start, because they straight away use it as a weapon of I'm not good enough, or I can't do this, or I knew I shouldn't do it. You know, it's like just repeating all the old stuff, but using like low engagement as a proof, you know. So a big part of this alignment with yourself and with your mission and connecting with your audience is deep self-worth and deep knowing, like, okay, like this saved my life, what I'm doing saved my life. I know it works, I believe in it, I'm certain about it, and I get you to explore like every possible avenue that what you do and offer is of benefit, so that you feel in your bones when you talk about it, like, even if someone threw a tomato at me, I know I've got 1,000 reasons why what I do is important. It's like stacking belief, so that when you talk, it's just solid, and people feel that. They'll look like, oh, they know their stuff and it sounds solid. Yeah, because humans are we're very clever listeners, and we're like X Factor judges half the time as well. You know, like, oh, I don't want, you know. So people aren't very kind. Your friends will be lovely to you when you put a thing out, but just random people will be like very critical. So that, you know, it's worth doing the work to ground into your self-worth, your self-love, your radiant, you know, who you really are, and being able to talk about it. And the thing is, in marketing, modern marketing, well, actually, most healing modalities don't teach you marketing.
No, not at all.
So you kind of just get thrown out there with this amazing stuff, and then you just don't really know what you're doing. It's a bit
how to communicate it.
Yeah. And then otherwise you go on a marketing course and it's not magical enough.
Yeah.
So this is what Visibility Gateway is about, really, was bringing in as much of the marketing that is helpful. But it's also it's demanding. The Visibility Gateway, people said, can you call it an intensive? Because it's pretty intense. And it was 5 weeks, and now it's seven. It's a 7-week intensive, because we're looking at not only the kind of magical marketing, so specifically for healer types, but we're also doing really deep kinesiology work. So I don't know if everyone's familiar with that. I'll explain in a minute, but we're really doing, you know, top-notch energy healing work as a group on certain patterns that are coming up for all of us, which is incredible. It's like not just 2 healers, it's, you know, 12 to 16 going on patterns that are affecting us around money, visibility, etc. And then we also do like the individual, group kind of coaching. So everyone's there, everyone gets timed individually to speak and to share where they're at and what's going on. And then the tasks that I set every week are kind of slowly tricking you into being able to speak powerfully about what you do, but without it's yeah, I just make it, the tasks aren't hard. It's, and at the end you take all the things that we've done into this pack. It's like becomes a thing. And most, you know, like a mission statement, if you like, or, you know, kind of something for you, not to blur out, but just be like, I work with these kind of people because I love them. And this is the kind of work that I'm creating. You know, this is what the effects that my work has on people. And understanding all those pieces means that it's really easy to talk about what you do. So kind of giving you powerful communication tools, some of it from the marketing world. And then every week you get loads of practice because you have to make a video, and then it goes in our little group. And then I leave very like in-depth feedback where I'm using all my energy eyes, all my experience, all the feeling of the smoke and mirrors or whatever is going on, and tips about what to do next. So I don't think I know any course out there that's that so much energy work, personal work, support, feedback. And then most people come in thinking, oh, I do astrology and massage and women's circles or something. And then they come out at the end, their mind and the possibilities that are open to them have just exploded. And they've started creating packages and like programs and ways of taking people from here to here. Just give me some money for an hour, you'll feel good for a bit. It's like, no, where can you actually take people to? So, you know, what I've created and what I'm encouraging people to create is these sort of containers that are, well, I think that the visibility gateway is almost like a power wash for healers. You know, you walk in to the container and you're like, you know, all the fears and the money stuff and all the stuff that stops you from speaking kind of starts dissolving and kind of being blown apart. Then you're left feeling a bit like jelly because you're like, oh God, I don't know how to think in this way and so many possibilities. And then we slowly ground and make structure and make you practice and integrate the thing. So yeah, it's just it's been amazing watching people transform every round I've done. Someone today called me, what she called me, you're like the visibility midwife. I've got a graduate group where I've encouraged them to post what they're posting out in the world so that I can go, what about this? So they're still getting help even after the course on that. And a lot of people are, because when your energy changes, the world opportunities change. So some of them have been offered like massive life-changing things have happened to them by accident after the visibility gateway, which is beautiful. So yeah, being visible, getting out there, that's the magical part, is it's not all like your flyer on your website and the thing you did. It's like the energy behind every word and everything you're putting out there. So yeah, I am also, well, so the kinesiology bit is, just very briefly, it's basically getting a yes and a no from the body. And when we're in a group, we have a group body. Not that we are 12 people become one, that's just not a thing. It's 12 people in their own energy, but in the middle, the cauldron of the middle of the circle, there's all the themes and common threads that are bubbling together, like the money story that we share, the healer that's banished that we share, all that stuff. And then I'm kind of muscle testing for a yes and a no in the center of the circle. And we're like Sherlock Holmes, wizards and Sherlock Holmes, going like, okay, so we're stuck. This stuff here is stuck there. What does it mean? When did it start? What's the story behind that? Everyone can feel it gets worse as you're in it, you know. And then we find a balance or techniques that help dissolve this. So we might have to know something or hear something, and then we journey into that together, and we alchemize and transmute the stuck stuff and rewrite the story, rewrite the money story, rewrite the visibility story in our bodies. And that's the amazing thing about kinesiology, is yes, it can pick up energy and stuff like that, but we often are working on the body itself, because you can change energy, but it doesn't always integrate. That's why you go on amazing retreats, and then, you know, a week or two later, you're like, oh, I'm back to normal. Wow. Kinesiology is really, really working with the body and making sure that the body releases the old stories, because that's where the old stories were held, you know, the ancient stories are in the body still. So the body is a brilliant record of our history, our ancestry, all that. So yeah, I call it like the biolocation of change is the body. So let's.
Yeah, because often we can be around a particularly high vibe person and feel great and everything's wonderful, and then we move out of that person's aura and then we're back stuck. So that
Mm,
really getting to us at a cellular level
mm.
completely.
And that's the whole point as well. I think a big part of the way I work with people, you know, at the end of your introduction, it was like a compassionate and loving space. That is true, but I'm not soft. People are like, you're very direct. So, but who's going to tell you? If someone isn't going to tell you, who will, you know? So I'm like, okay, I'll do the job. I'm like, you know, that didn't quite work. Or, you know, and you have to learn the art of powerful feedback in any scenario, really, to do it right and constructive. It's an art. It's something you learn. It takes time to learn. I'm actually trying to teach someone who's helping me to do the feedback so that I can actually do more people, because they're very small groups and it doesn't have to be. It's just I can't do the feedback on loads and loads of people. So I'm training someone, and it's definitely like a tool, techniques to do that right and kindly, but to be real and true. So yeah, I'm quite direct, but also a big part of when you are a leader or you know, like leading groups or the healer or, you know, the guru, all that stuff, like we're not in that time anymore. It doesn't actually work. It doesn't feel good for anyone, including the person that's the leader person. So a big part of the visibility gateway is me kind of going, take like any energy going up towards me, I'm pushing back down and saying, no, you have to be in that for yourself. Like, yes, I'm doing the constructive feedback, and, you know, you're paying me to help you from here to here. But I'm not your leader. I'm here to empower you to lead yourself. So yeah, it's a so multifaceted, this visibility gateway thing, because I kind of said it was like finishing schools for wizards and witches, because it's like you've learned all your healing modalities, you've been floating around the dimensions and planets and doing your thing, and now it's time to land on Earth, come to finishing school, set up some structures, make it that your energy is going to contribute to something good, even if it's not millions, it's a few people that you're going to really help, and that's enough. That's good. That's life affirming, and you know, you can go to bed and sleep well at night because you're like, oh, you know. So yeah, it's like that, pulling people down and down back into their bodies, back onto Earth, and let's work with the Earth rules and the money rules down here. And that, just to like a little anecdote about the kinesiology in a group setting, it was like round 2 of the visibility gateway, and one of the things that came up was that there was an angry shaman.
Oh yes.
Yeah, the angry shaman was present, and that's what all this, we could feel it all, like, oh, something's not right. So what is that? And it came up, okay, angry shaman. So like, what's all this about? And he was just so, it was a he, but he was so angry about money. He was like, what? I have to ask for money? This is crazy. Who do you think I am? You know, all this sort of like indignant injustice at having to exchange healing work for money, which is totally understandable from that perspective of, you know, this is like thousands of years ago kind of dude talking to us. And if you think back to the healers in ancient tribal communities, let's call ourselves, we were at the heart of the village, and we were looked after. We were probably recognized from childhood, like, oh, there's the magical one. You know, we'll nurture that, and then respected, and then often holding, you know, a position of respect, not only because we're helping people with broken things and like, you know, probably mediating mediation. So when we say healing, it's actually all these different things. I think healing is, I'm still, it's a different topic. The word shelf that. But anyway, the shaman at the heart of the village had all these, you know, it was like you were fed, housed, gifts were exchanged, probably, or not at all. It was just like this, you know, you were looked after. You didn't have to go and ask for money in exchange and stuff like that. So then to have that part, so this particular story that played out was that this angry shaman had been incredibly ripped from his tribal center And that, for whatever reason and whatever historical thing happened, it just felt like there was massacres and the Armageddon of tribal life, which is kind of true, but maybe over, a few thousand years or something, agriculture, industry, uh, other cultures coming in and taking over, all sorts of stuff meant that the destabilization of the village, the community, um, ancient spiritual law, all that was taken away violently, and there was like a shock, which is that's why it was recorded in our bodies, because that trauma looping, it is literally like that cataclysmic shock plays out, because that part of that person's experience couldn't overcome the shock of it and the trauma of it like that. So it's kind of lived on and passed down the eons, in our cells, or even in our energetic fields, and or even in our today's sort of distant memory. Somehow there is these like cataclysmic events we might not understand. I'm not surprised we feel uneasy and anxious sometimes, because there's so much that's happened to us as humans. But yeah, so we were like, how can we help this person? So one key of that was helping the body of that person know, the angry shaman know, that particular event is not happening anymore. That's basically a trauma healing on any level, is letting your body know that you're not still in the car crash, that you're not still being raped, that you're not losing your village. All these things, like, yes, that did happen, but to heal and to move through and forward is like letting the body know it's not still, because the shock was so big, it just keeps going. So we actually had these conversations and facilitated like the body relaxing from constant shock of being the loss of the being in the center of the village, the healer in the village. And then once that had moved through our bodies, we were able to take him on a, like the snowman, the flying through the air, that thing. So we kind of flew our angry shaman through our life today as healers today. What's happening in the world? How does money work? What does money mean? And we had to re-educate ourselves and him about money as a tool of exchange, that it's not necessarily negative, and actually you can still feel looked after, and we can create systems that mean, like, if you're not comfortable having a sales call, there's other ways of doing it which feels clean and comfortable and easy. There's just lots of different ways you can do. And that totally relaxed the angry shaman, went more curious and was like, oh, okay, it's just the same but different. And it's and the fact that you could create your tribe and community, it wasn't just like whoever you were born with, it was something, there's a new aspect to you. This is translating into how can you structure your work as a healer to feel good to you, is that you can create your circles or your villages or your communities. I'm talking about online or whatever, not necessarily like community out there, but you can create a Facebook group, and so people are willing to hear you and they're there because they chose to be there. So that's you can create safety in talking about what you do. You don't have to just stand in the street going, oh, I do this, to every random person. But yeah, so that was so incredibly insightful. This angry shaman was affecting us moving forward and whatever, and then placing ourselves back at the heart of the village, the hearth of the village, and allowing ourselves to be looked after, to give and receive. And yeah, I mean, you can't, yes, there's the argument that if you're in survival mode, you're going to make things happen. There's that side, and maybe that's true on some level, but there's also another part where you can create amazing work if you're not constantly like paddling, like when you look at a duck under the water paddling, what's that, treading water,
which a lot of people are, and it's difficult to step into your power when you're treading water, and when you can barely breathe and your head's just above the where's the next thing coming from?
Yeah So kinesiology helps us tap into these stories instead of trying to guess what the stories are. It's like we can go to the bullseye and go, what is that? And unfold and transmute, alchemize, and move into the new thing. But you can also kind of it's all goal orientated as well. So we start at the beginning, what's our goal with this? So it's not only looking at what's stopping you from reaching the goals, it's also kind of encoding you into being able to follow those goals in a way. It's putting in the positive. We do a lot of work around turning your inner critic into the inner champion. Oh, there's so much in it. There's so much in the.
I could talk and listen to you for all day, and I know you could talk all day as well. I just wonder, is there a way that if people are listening and thinking, I want to know more about this, is there anything you can offer them, or just get in touch with you?
Okay, so what I can do is, will there be a place where they can click on things? Yes. Okay, so there's the next visibility gateway is on the 19th of April, but before that I am offering 2 free intensives, it's a couple of hours, and there will be previous graduates there and people that have already signed up also sharing who they are so they can meet, but it's open to anyone to find out more, and I'll talk a bit more into the energetics of visibility, and that's on the 31st of March. And then the second one is called the same thing, but it's a different time. It's on the 7th of April, just because I have a lot of people from USA and Australia, and I have to create 2 events a lot of the time. So there's those. Yeah, and that's
and is that open? Have you got like loads and loads and loads of spaces, or are they quite limited?
I mean, it's all pretty unlimited. I'm pretty sure it won't max out. It might do, which would be amazing. But no, I mean, there'll be plenty of room, and then you just have to register on the Zoom link. They're Facebook event pages. So that can just give you a bit more insight about all of what's going on there. And then I am also offering not content-free kinesiology time. So what I mean is a group of people that meet up and we do kinesiology in a group. It's not a course where I'm teaching content, but it's called the Money Gateway. So it's kind of, it's like 6 weeks long in a group, looking at money beliefs, money stories, just clearing all the blocks to abundance and giving and receiving in that way. So that might interest some people. That'll be a small group called the Money Gateway. And then I do one-to-one work as well. And I do, I'm gearing towards, or who I love working with are the lineage holders, the people that are running, creating schools, or, holding big pieces of ancient lineages. And it's hard, it can wallop you if you're not in alignment or in integrity. And also, I love to help people that are holding groups and programs, and just to help the whole process, make sure the container is in alignment and right for the person, the teacher and the participants. So yeah, that's kind of, there's also the heart retrieval course coming up. There's lots going on.
You're a busy bee.
Yeah, I think that's when you're creative and you have the capacity to be creative. It's just overflows. I think.
Amazing. You are inspirational. I'm so glad that we have connected and got our little friendship going here. You were just this voice in YouTube for me for a lot of time. And your heart retrieval was absolutely beautiful. I've definitely pulled in threads of my heart, having done bits and pieces of your work. So I entirely recommend Sarah.
Oh, thank you. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me. And I'm sure we'll be doing more things together.
I have that feeling. Thank you.
Thank you.